tax freight train is bearing down on your retirement. To protect yourself, you'll have to harness the power of zero.
Hi there, this is David McKnight. Welcome to the Power of Zero show. Grateful as always that you're willing to carve out a portion of your day to spend some time learning about the Power of Zero approach to retirement planning. I'm the best-selling author of The Power of Zero, Look Before You LIRP, The Volatility Shield, and a new book coming out, which is called Tax-Free Income for Life. And I actually have some good news on that front. I have prevailed upon Penguin Random House, and this is probably because I've gotten the book completed already. I was able to complete the book, and I think I started in January, and here we are about midway through March. The manuscript's almost done, so I was able to convince my editor over at Penguin Random House that why should we wait until the second week in February to publish this thing when it's virtually completed right now. And so initial indication is that we're going to be able to push that publishing date, that launch date forward all the way to probably the first week in November. So I wish it could be sometime in September, like when we launched the Power of Zero in 2018. But this is, I think, a really positive development. So that's put that on your calendars for early November. Excited about that. Couple of things before we jump into the meat of today's show. If you are looking to circumnavigate all of the pitfalls that stand between you and the 0% tax bracket, I would suggest you head over to davidmcknight.com and we can hook you up with a certified Power of Zero advisor in your neck of the woods. And if you are a financial advisor looking to transition your practice to a Power of Zero style practice, head on over to powerofzero.com and opt into our video series. As always, would love a follow on Twitter at McKnight & Co. at McKnight & Co. All right, so today we're going to talk about a question that gets posed to me quite frequently, and that's, can my LIRP serve as a bond replacement? In other words, can it function as the bond portion of my portfolio? Well, first of all, why in the world would we want the LIRP to function as the bond portion of your portfolio? Why are people asking me that question? Well, turns out there's a pretty good reason why they're asking it, because remember, a lot of people are funding their LIRPs out of stock market portfolios that are growing. And when I say stock market portfolios, I'm really talking about an asset allocated portfolio that consists of bonds and stocks. And let's just pick a number here. Let's say that portfolio is averaging 8%. Well, if they take money out of that portfolio that's averaging 8% and they put a portion of that money into an LIRP, which may only be averaging between 4 and 6%, depending on which type of LIRP you choose, then doesn't that reduction in rate of return neutralize a lot of the tax benefit that was the justification for doing the LIRP to begin with? And I think that's a great question. It's a question that I raise in my book, Look Before You LIRP. I think you need to get a robust rate of return in your LIRP to forestall this type of reduction in rate of return, unless, okay, you take the following course. I think it does make sense to have your LIRP function as the bond portion of your portfolio, so long as you are actually funding your LIRP out of the bond portion of your portfolio. In other words, if your goal is to have your LIRP take the place of bonds in your portfolio, then you should not be taking money out of stocks inside your stock portfolio to fund what is ultimately going to be serving as the bond portion of your portfolio. So I've gotten this question quite frequently over the course of the last few weeks, given the vast and precipitous drop in the stock market. So people have asked me, hey, Dave, should I start my LIRP now? Should I fund my LIRP now? Should I get this thing rolling? Given that the stock market is so low. Well, guess what? The stock market may be down, but the bond market is not down nearly as much as the stock market. The bond market might be down a little bit, but it's certainly it's certainly not down to the point where we're experiencing stock market like returns. Remember, back in 2008, both the stock market and the bond market went down. It was one of those. Usually they're inversely correlated, but they actually both went down in 2008. So, in a scenario like that, it actually makes much more sense to take money that was otherwise allocated to your bonds in your retirement portfolio, take money out of there and use that to fund your LIRP. So guess what? If you're taking money that was otherwise earning 2 to 3%, and maybe you're putting it in a bucket that's now earning 4 to 5%, guess what? That's a pretty good move. Now, if you're taking money that maybe has the potential to grow 7 to 9% over time, and you're putting that into a bucket of money that's only earning 4 to 6%, then I think that that's not a great move. So you have to recognize that if you're funding your LIRP out of your retirement portfolio, it makes sense to liquidate the bonds, especially when markets are down, liquidate those bonds and use those to fund your LIRP. Does that make sense? Now, there's something that's very important that you have to do. If you are slowly transitioning portions of your bond portfolio over to the LIRP, and this could also hold true for, if you're using a fixed index annuity to use a Roth conversion strategy. This also could hold true with your fixed index annuity, but let's confine our comments to the LIRP for now. You have to make sure that if you're transitioning money from the bond portion of your portfolio to your LIRP, that you are taking a little bit more risk in the stock market portfolio in the meantime. Why? Because LIRPs and FIAs, for that matter, have a lower standard deviation than a typical bond portfolio. In other words, you're taking less risk in a typical LIRP or a typical FIA, fixed index annuity, than you would in a traditional bond portfolio. So what does that allow you to do? It allows you to take a little bit more risk in the stock market. Now, a lot of people ask me, they'll say, hey, Dave, I'm retired and I don't want to be taking a lot of risk in retirement. Well, guess what? I will submit to you that if you are barely retired, that most of the money that you're planning on spending in retirement hasn't even been earned yet. Let me repeat that. If you're barely retired, most of the money that you're planning on spending in retirement hasn't even been earned yet. If you want to have any sort of a prayer of having your money last as long as you do, you need to continue to grow that money during the course of your retirement. Why don't people like to take risk in retirement? Because they don't want to have to take money out of their stock market portfolio when the stock market is down. And the problem is they don't have a pool of money from which to draw during those down years in the market. And typically the years that you have to worry about are the first 10 years of retirement. If you take money out of your stock market portfolio during the first 10 years of retirement, you expose yourself to the effects of sequence of return risk. What is sequence of return risk? That's a risk that if you take money out of your stock market portfolio during a down market, you can send your portfolio into a death spiral from which it never recovers. So important that if you plan on taking money, plan on funding your retirement during the first 10 years of retirement, the LIRP can be a great way to do it. If you can have 2 to 3 years worth of lifestyle expenses squirreled away in that LIRP by the time you retire, then that is where you want to pay for your lifestyle expenses during the down years of the stock market. So not only is the LIRP functioning as the bond portion of your portfolio, it's allowing the stock market portion of your portfolio to grow a lot more robustly in the meantime. And then once you hit retirement, then you can fund your lifestyle needs out of your LIRP during the 2 to 3 down years you're likely to experience in those first 10 years of retirement. Now, what if you're just retiring now and you're just starting your LIRP now? Well, you don't have 2 to 3 years worth of lifestyle savings squirreled away in that LIRP. So what do? Well, with the LIRP, if you're just starting out in retirement, you're going to need to let that thing marinate. You may fund it over the course of 5 or 6 years, but then you're going to let it sit and bake for another 4 to 5 years after that. And I really wouldn't recommend touching your LIRP until you're in the 11th year. You need to, there's some fees and some expenses that you need to overcome in the first 10 years of the program. And if you're taking money out during those high fee years, then you're sort of, it's sort of like a sequence of return risk. You're not letting it build ahead of steam, and you really need to do that. So if you're starting your LIRP during your first 10 years, it can still function as the bond portion of your portfolio, but you can't really tap into it until the 11th year, and that's generally what I recommend. At that point, you can still use it to fund your lifestyle needs during those down years in the stock market. It's not going to be quite the same silver bullet as it would be in the first 10 years of retirement, but it's still going to have the effect of extending the life of all your other stock market investments. Okay. So what are you going to live on during the first 10 years of retirement if you're letting your LIRP marinate in the meantime? Well, I talk about this in one of the latter chapters of my new book, Tax-Free Income for Life. You want to allocate your lifestyle needs not towards the LIRP, not towards a stock market portfolio, but towards what I call a time-segmented portfolio. In other words, the first 2 years, you're going to fund your lifestyle through a series of bonds that might have a 2-year time duration. Maybe years 3 and 4 or 4 and 5, you're going to have a different duration. So that you're not risking money in the stock market during those years. You're putting it in a time-segmented portfolio that has durations that are designed to deliver income at the period in time during those first 10 years when you will actually need the money. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds here. Where did we begin this discussion? We began this discussion by saying, can the LIRP function as the bond portion of your portfolio? And the reality is it can. In fact, Tom Hegna, who is an expert, one of the leading experts in the industry for guaranteed lifetime income, he says annuities are great because they grow like a triple C rated bond, but they have the financial strength of a triple A rated bond with 0 standard deviation. I think the same can be said of the LIRP. It can function as the best kind of bond. Insurance companies have economies of scale that individuals don't have, and so they can use their economies of scale to provide rates of return that you're not likely to get on your own. And that is one of the reasons why you would want to leverage the relationship of an insurance company during the course of your retirement. I know insurance and annuities and LIRPs are sometimes verboten with a lot of financial gurus out there. But the reality is, if you're using these types of approaches to function as the bond portion of your portfolio, it can allow you to take more risk. It gives you a permission slip, if you will, to take more risk in all of your other stock market investments, which I think is something that's overlooked by a lot of the financial gurus, whether they be online or on the radio or what have you, is that sure, you're getting lower rates of return than you might get in your stock market portfolio, but you have permission to adjust the risk allocation in the rest of your stock market portfolio as you begin to transition money to the LIRP. So I would simply say that so long as you are transitioning money to the LIRP from the stock market portfolio, so long as you are increasing the risk in that stock market allocation, I think that you're going to maintain, you're going to receive a higher rate of return. You're lowering your standard deviation. You're getting a higher rate of return. And look, you're not taking any more risk than you were taking previously. You're just getting higher rates of return. Now, remember, you have to grow your money over time once you hit retirement. This is not the time to go into hibernation mode. It is not the time to duck and cover. You have to grow those assets over the course of your retirement if you have any prayer of having your money last through life expectancy. So long and the short of it is, can an IUL function as the bond portion of your portfolio? The answer is absolutely it can. You just have to do a little bit of a legwork in the meantime. You have to make sure you're monitoring the risk allocation in your stock market portfolio. And remember, if you're planning on funding your LIRP, especially during a down market, make sure you're using the money out of your bond portfolio or your cash portfolio. That way you're not cashing in those stocks while the stock market is down. All right, folks, that is the show for today. I try to keep these about 15 minutes so you can listen on the way home from work or while you're cooking dinner or while you're picking up the kids at school, what have you. As always, appreciate your loyalty and your willingness to tune in each and every week. Again, if you are looking for a Power of Zero advisor to help you navigate the pitfalls that stand between you and the 0% tax bracket, head over to davidmcknight.com. And if you are a financial advisor looking for help transitioning your practice to a Power of Zero advisor practice, head over to powerofzero.com. We would love a rating on Amazon for any of our books. It helps a lot, way more than you think. And please remember to subscribe to our podcast, and you will get a weekly notification letting you know the title of the podcast, and it will be delivered right to your email inbox. Thanks for being with us, and we will look forward to chatting with you same time next week.